everybody, Doug Shay here. Welcome to another episode of Dylan's Disney Movie Reviews. Again, why don't we skip the prologue and get right on with the review? Released on July 7th, 1963, the movie is Summer Magic. The film starts in the early 1900s where a family called the Careys is having financial problems.
Gilly, pry yourself away from that piano. There's work to do.
I don't see why Mother had to sell it.
Because it's the most valuable thing we own and we need the money.
How am I going to be a composer with only a guitar to compose on? Hey, my fish! I got to thinking about him the other day. Where was he?
Oh, Gilly, you can't take everything. There's just not going to be room in our horrid new house, and we can't afford to pay storage on junk. Look at his poor eye.
Why is my stuff always junk and your stuff always priceless? Here, you can have him, Peter.
Thanks. I'll put on my junk. Well, that did a lot of good.
While packing up, Nancy, played by Hayley Mills, tells the two housekeepers, Mary and Helen, played by the late Hilda Plowright and Marcy McGuire, respectively, with the latter uncredited, about a book she's been reading called True Blue.
They had this family, Lord and Lady Darcy, and their beloved children, and they all lived in a magnificent castle. I do love them castle stories.
The tray, miss.
Yes, ma'am. Well, everybody worshipped everybody. So, of course, it was all terribly happy. Then, one day, they lost all their riches. Lord save us. And they were driven from the castle, and they were forced to live in a hovel, which was not in a very nice neighborhood. But they had this loyal old family servant, and the faithful creature followed them from castle to hovel. And she not only brought her own life savings wrapped in a pitiful handkerchief to her beloved mistress, but she remained with them to serve them for years without wages. 'Tis a beautiful tale and a lesson to the greedy.
Two men then arrive and take the piano away.
Tis a black day for the Careys. Back to your packing, miss.
The two men then bring in a player piano as a swap with the other piano.
Rolls in here. Here's one we always put on when folks are moving.
The men leave, and Gilly, played by Eddie Hodges, plays the piano and comes the first song in the film called Flitterin'.
It's time for flittering, dusting off the trunk and flittering far, where the grass is greener now and then. Comes the time again for flittering. We'll soon be packing up, stacking up our dreams and bric-a-brac for some new destination, don't know where, but we're going there. We're flittering again. New places, new faces, new friendships will start, while old places, old faces stay dear to our heart as we go flittering.
The kid's mother, Margaret, played by the late Dorothy McGuire, then comes home, and Peter, played by Jimmy Mathers, tells her about the new piano.
Well, this one you don't need the hands. You play with feet. And there's this little roller thing with little holes to make the keys go up and down.
No.
And guess what?
What?
I played with this leg. Nobody showed me how.
That's your smartest leg.
Margaret then tells the kids that they don't have as much money as she thought from talking to their lawyers.
Go on, Mother.
The real blow was those mining stocks we'd counted on. The ones George Ferguson got your father to invest in, they're absolutely worthless. Not worth the paper they're written on, Mr. Manson told me.
Oh, well, that isn't so bad. We're just in reduced circumstances.
I'll be very happy to pay. I saw a baker once and he had a tin cup full of money.
Things won't be so very different.
I'm afraid they will in a way. You see, counting everything, we have exactly $50 a month to live on, so we can't even afford to move to the little house we were going to here in Boston.
We can't afford that horrible little house? Oh, Mother, that's wonderful. Oh, Gilly, that's just...
Nancy then says she asked a postmaster in Beulah named Ozzie and Popham about a house in Beulah, and she got a letter from him saying that the house is vacant, and his trusted friend and attorney, Mr. Hamilton, will be happy to rent it to them.
And how he has the right to decide, because he's not only the postmaster, but Mr. Hamilton's trusted friend, his factotum, power attorney.
Slow down, Nancy.
Oh, Mother, think of living in the country. No storage bills. All our things will fit into the yellow house. We'll be self-supporting. Chickens, fresh eggs, vegetables from the garden, air, space, honest toil.
Can we, Mother? Can we?
Oh, please, Mother.
But Mother, my school's here, my friends. Beulah's a hick town.
Abraham Lincoln came from a hick town.
Margaret then says yes about living in the house in Beulah, and then Nancy and Gilly sing a song about Beulah called Beautiful Beulah.
Land of promise, bounteous. This is beautiful, Beulah, in the rocky state of Maine. Land of plenty, meant for us. This is beautiful, Beulah. Within our reach is there, grapes big as peaches there. The cows and bees are busy. Who needs any money in the land of milk and honey? Sweet apple trees abound, wild cherries all around. Berries on the vine, rambler roses twine, they're so nice. It's a paradise, Beulah land, so beautiful. Let's set forth for it, let's go north and drink chug-a-choo, 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 to beautiful Beulah land, beautiful Beulah, Maine.
Soon enough, the family goes to Beulah, and Mr. Popham's son Digby, played by the late Michael J. Poehler, drives them to the house.
Country, real country.
We're out in the sticks, all right.
Gilly.
Sticks. It's the loveliest. Land of promise, land of opportunity.
Opportunity for what?
Well, they got something there. We're the first family to move into Beulah in more than 5 years. Most people move away to the city. That's why I'm gonna get just as soon as I can. See some of them bright lights, make a little money.
Money? The heavenly thing about the country is you don't need money. You have the soil.
What soil?
Mud.
Family arrives at the house. Nancy and Gilly look around, and Margaret meets Ozzie and Popham, played by the late Burl Ives.
You mean to tell me that you're the Careys?
You must be Ozzie and Popham.
Yes. At your service, ma'am.
Busters for bedroom, Gilly.
Oh, Nancy!
Is this your treasured daughter, ma'am?
Well, let's just say my daughter. Nancy, this is Mr. Popham.
Oh, my goodness. Mr. Popham.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
That must have been the invalid boy.
Oh, Mr. Popham, about that first letter, I
No
really...
need to go on. What you done has come to me like a blinded flash.
After talking to Mr. Popham, Nancy says that they should fix up the house, and Mr. Popham says that he'll help them. Then he, Digby, and Lally Joy, played by Wendy Turner, go home.
I've been doing some thinking.
Good. Thinking never hurt anybody.
Pa, do you realize the farthest I've ever been from Beulah was Four Corners when I was too young to even remember?
What are you getting at, son?
Well, Pa, you realize I ain't never seen nothing or done nothing?
Go on.
Well, you yourself said, Pa, a man never gets anywhere standing in one place.
How much am I paying you, Digby?
$3 a week. But if a fella can make that in one day in the city, you gonna put a stop to it, Pa?
Nope. Might as well get it out of your system. Might be coming about the right time, too.
That night, the Careys sit on the front porch of the house and Margaret sings a song called Summer Magic.
Summer magic, the soft summer magic drifts across the meadows. Summer magic, it weaves through the willows right into your heart.
The next day, the Careys go into town and Gilly drives the car and gets a flat tire.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, Digby.
Forget it, she's about to blow anyway. Lolly Joy, another tire to fix.
It was my fault. Let me fix it.
Oh, no. Digby always lets me fix the flat tires.
But if I'm gonna take over your job, I better learn how in case one blows when she's not around.
Might. You can watch.
Mr. Popham and Nancy go into Mr. Popham's general store and get some stuff to fix up the house with.
Maybe we shouldn't splash things all over without Mr. Hamilton's approval.
No need to get permission for such puny things. I told you he's got deep-seated faith in my judgment. Nancy, you better give Mrs. Popham your mother's grocery list. Take her mind off on what it's on.
Just a saint. Now, we know all that wallpaper, and paint, and brushes, and you know those little tools that you use to scrape off the old wallpaper?
Meanwhile, Peter is mistaken for a girl, and so he decides to get a haircut along with some other boys. Later, Ozzy and his wife Mariah, played by the late Una Merkel, asks him if he has written to Mr. Hamilton about renting the house to the Careys.
I told you I have written to him.
Has he written you?
No. He's a busy man. No news is good news. Besides, he's off in them foreign parts. Heathens might have ate him.
And you're letting them Careys tear his house apart. Redoing. Planting. Young'uns running all over the place. Selling them wallpaper for less than it cost you.
That lot never did move.
They got you bewitched, and I know why. You wore out the people in this town with your stories, and now you got new ears to listen to you. But you'll be bewitching her when Mr. Hamilton lands back in Beulah some fine day and wants his house back. I'm warning you, Mr. Popham. If you don't get a letter from Mr. Hamilton soon, I'm going to take matters into my own hands.
At the barber shop, the barber tells the father of the 4 boys who got haircuts that he owes them $1.25 because he cut 5 heads.
You trying to tell me one of my sons got 2 heads? I seen and cut 5. Maybe you better get yourself a pair of spectacles. I sent 4 in, and I'm picking up 4. All right, forget it. Into the wagon, boys.
Ozian then takes Peter, who got a haircut, because he's looking for a job and he doesn't want to be mistaken for a girl.
Oh, so you're gonna look for work?
I'm the only boy in the family who's not working.
That puts a different complexion on things. You see, you got on a handsome city outfit. It's too good to work in. And the man hiring you might get the idea that maybe you wouldn't buckle down.
Oh, I'll buckle down.
Why, of course you will. So, maybe we ought to arrange for a little swap. I've been looking for a Buster Brown suit just about that size. So, if you'd consider swapping it for a pair of overalls to work in.
With patches on it?
Of course, with patches. And a shirt. That's a very, very fine piece of goods. So, I won't take advantage of you. Now suppose that I give you 2 bits to boot.
A quarter?
That's a lot of money. Hank Champlin has to cut a whole head of hair before he makes that much. And he's got 6 mouths to feed at his house, too.
Osh, with the 2 bits to boot, I can pay him for my 5th head. Be right back.
Peter then goes home with a dog named Sam, who he got from a rich man, and Peter promised to watch him.
Why, Peter, an enormous thing like that would eat us out of house and home.
But we're getting paid. You explained about everybody doing his share, and Sam's my share. Getting paid 25 cents.
A meal?
A week.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, Peter. We can't do it. You'll have to take him back.
But I can't. The man's already left town.
Oh, my goodness.
The man's gonna pay me the next time he sees me. You mean you didn't get it?
Mr. Popham then comes in with a letter from the Fergusons about Julia, who is Nancy, Gilly, and Peter's cousin, and coming to stay with them in a week, and Nancy and Gilly are not happy about it.
Oh, please, not Julia.
Oh.
Best leave these folks to their grief. Come along, Molly Joy.
Do I have to, Pa? It's been real interesting here.
Yes, come along. See you tomorrow.
Goodbye, Arsh. And thanks for everything. And I want you two out of those dying gladiator attitudes. Julia is your cousin and a Carrie. And I don't want you to forget that, ever.
Forget it?
Nancy, try to realize that Julia's story is rather a sad one. She never even knew her mother. And after her dear father died, the Fergusons very kindly took her in and raised her.
Kindly took her in. George Ferguson had a guilty conscience. He knew those stocks he sold her father were as worthless as ours.
She's the Fergusons' responsibility. Why dump her on us?
Because now George writes he can't keep her. Another unfortunate investment. But there is one thing we're going to do. We're going to welcome her. Really welcome her. As a cousin and as a young girl who has no other home to go to.
Well, we didn't really have a home for a while either. But we didn't go around begging all our old relatives to take us in.
Nancy and Gilly then sing a song called Pink of Perfection, which is what Julia thinks she is.
She's the pink of perfection, from her prissy pink nose to her custard complexion and 11 pink toes.
With a chin like a prune, she's a dainty baboon.
And she thinks she's the pink of perfection. She's the pink of perfection, made of skim milk and rice. She's a witch's confection, makes your blood turn to ice.
Like a stale Charlotte Russe, with the charm of a moose.
And she thinks she's the pink of perfection.
Later, Nancy and Gilly go pick up Julia, played by the late Deborah Wally, by the way, and bring her to the house.
Hello, Peter. Let me out of this thing.
She's not me, Nancy.
Shh.
Julia. Oh, dear.
Aunt Margaret.
Well, welcome to the Yellow House.
Why, thank you.
Did you have a pleasant trip?
Oh, it was a nightmare. No parlor car on the train.
Oh.
And this wilderness. When I think of last summer, the glorious time Gladys Ferguson and I had in East Hampton.
Come along.
But I must remember the last thing that dear Mrs. Ferguson said to me. Don't let poverty drag you down, Julia. Keep high thoughts and don't let them get soiled by the grime of daily living. Oh, lovely. Especially the part about the grime of daily living.
A pill.
Complete, utter.
I think she's pretty.
Well, you go play with Sam. Vanish.
Huh?
Scat!
That night, Margaret takes Peter to bed, and he will be sleeping with her because Julia's sleeping in his room.
Please, you don't know.
Not another word. Come along. Good night, Julia. Breakfast at 7. Good night, children.
Night, Mother.
7 in the morning? Good night, Aunt Margaret.
But, Mother, you don't...
Run along, Peter.
Later, once everybody's in bed and the lights go out, Sam climbs up into Peter's room where Julia is and she screams.
Julia.
A few minutes later, Julia is in Margaret's room and she's crying because she thinks that it was planned because her cousins are against her.
Oh, nobody's against you in this house, Julia. We want you to be part of the family. But we have a little boy, and that little boy happens to have a great big dog.
Nobody cares what happens to me.
Julia? I heated some milk.
I'll take it, dear. See that Peter sleeps in his bed tonight. I'm keeping Julia here with me.
Yes, Mother. Julia? Good night, Mother.
Good night, dear.
The next day, Peter finds a caterpillar outside and shows it to Mr. Popham.
He climbed up there all by himself. He likes me.
That's a mighty handsome critter.
He has a very ugly face.
Maybe he's thinking the same thing about you. You know, the little critters of nature, they don't know that they're ugly.
They don't?
Mr. Popham then sings a song called The Ugly Bug Ball.
While the crickets click their tricky melodies, all the ants were fancy dancing with the flea. Then up from under the ground, the worms came squirming around. Oh, they danced until their legs were nearly lame. Every little crawling creature you could name. Everyone was glad. What a time they had. They were so happy they came. Come on, let's crawl to the ugly bug ball. And a happy time we'll have there. One and all at the ugly bug ball.
After the song, Nancy tells Mr. Popham that her mother wants to see him, and inside, Julia's getting ready to take a bath downstairs because she's sick of carrying kettles of hot water upstairs.
At the Fergusons, Gladys and I had our own private bath right next to our room with plenty of hot running water.
This isn't the Fergusons. This is the Careys.
Well, it seems to me that if the Careys are silly enough to spend money on a house that they don't even own, the first thing they should have done was to install civilized plumbing in this primitive place.
Margaret tells Mr. Popham and Nancy that they don't have enough money to continue fixing the house, so they'll have to live in it the way it is.
Oh, no.
Well, there's no hurry about paying me. I told you we'd get around to figuring that out someday.
It won't do, Osh. You're too kind. We can't accept it. There's a second rent payment due Mr. Hamilton.
Mr. Hamilton, rent money. I clean forgot. I got a letter from him. It's in my pocket. No, I must have left it in my coat.
Mr. Popham tells Margaret and Nancy that Mr. Hamilton said that in exchange for no rent, he wants them to find a place for his mother's picture.
His mother's picture.
Of course, dear old soul. Portrait of a lady. Where is she, Osh?
Well, he hid her. He hid her away someplace safe. But he wrote it down real clear, but it's just going right out of my head.
Well, if you'll bring the letter, we'll follow the instructions to the last detail. She'll have a place of honor.
Well, that's the ID. He wrote something about a simple little vase of flowers on her birthday.
Of course, her birthday. When is it?
Well, it seems like he said it was along with the fall of the year. Halloween.
Halloween?
Well, people are born on Halloween.
It works out perfectly, Mother. It'll tie in with our housewarming. We can have a solemn ceremony. You know, candles, a simple bouquet, a lovely painting above. Probably by Sargent, maybe Whistler.
Sounds too good to be true.
Mariah then arrives and tells her husband that she looked around for Mr. Hamilton's letter but couldn't find it.
This whole thing's gone far enough.
Well, what are you going to tell the Garys, Mariah?
My suspicions.
So Mariah goes inside to tell the Careys that what Mr. Popham's been telling them about the house isn't true. But just before she tells them, Mr. Popham pretends to have fallen off a ladder.
Mr. Popham! Oh, he's unconscious. Oh, speak to me, Pop.
Ossian, can you hear me?
Mariah.
Julia, go tell Gilly to get the doctor.
No, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. Just take me home, Mariah. It's my leg. Oh!
So the Pophams take Ossian home. One day after church, Margaret meets the new school teacher, Charles Bryant, played by the late James Stacy, and Nancy and Julia become attracted to him.
Oh, I love his name. Charles Bryant. So dignified. He looks awfully young to be a teacher. But isn't he handsome? Aren't you sorry now you're finished that elegant finishing school? It might be the gracious, social thing to do if we asked him to tea sometime. Julia, that's an inspiration. How about this afternoon, refreshments on the lawn? Well, maybe a small affair. Yes. Oh, we better ask some others so it's not too obvious. But we'll start with him.
So they tell him that they're having an affair and ask him if he'll attend it.
The whole thing's spur of the moment impromptu thing, affair. And we do hope you'll be able to come. Of course, we hope that everyone will be able to come. But first, will you?
Oh, yes, I'd be delighted.
Oh. Oh, Julia?
At the Popham's place, Mr. Popham looks for a painting to use as the picture of Mr. Hamilton's mother.
Now, I've seen you someplace before.
Mariah then comes in to tell Osh that dinner's ready.
Oh, Mr. Popham, what are you doing with them women? It's the Sabbath.
Oh, looking for a work of art to take over to the carriage. They got a lot of wall space there. Hand me that old apron.
Can't take any of that junk.
She's got a kind face. It's a pity she's got printing on her.
There's only one that's fit to hang. Mrs. Griswold. Wasn't much to look at, but she was a good woman. Spent her life on the opposing side. And if she hadn't went down in the wreck off Nantucket Light, the Demon Rum would have been chased off the New England coast. A real martyr. Insisted on going down with the ship. Everybody else was saved. Crew and captain.
It's a mighty inspiring story.
At the Carey's affair, Mr. Bryan arrives and Nancy talks to him.
You must be exhausted pedaling all the way from town.
Oh, I don't mind. It keeps me in condition.
All the same, I think you could use a nice glass of lemonade.
Oh, that sounds great.
I couldn't help noticing your Phi Beta Kappa key. You must be terribly proud of it.
Oh, well, they're really quite common.
They're unique in Beulah. I do hope you don't find yourself in an intellectual desert here, Mr. Bryant. Ice cream, Gilly.
Thank you.
Without anyone really to talk to, I mean. What did you major in, Mr. Bryant?
English lit, but I...
Oh, literature, I love it. Poetry. This is the forest primeval. The murmuring pines and the hemlocks.
Here.
2 scoops. No napkins.
Julia then comes out, walks with Mr. Bryan, and Nancy's not happy. Meanwhile, in the house, Mr. Popham places a painting of a woman inside the Dutch oven. Nancy then comes in, and Mr. Popham tells her where Mr. Hamilton's mother's picture is.
Oh, where is she?
Well, ever since I mislaid Mr. Hamilton's letter, I ain't been able to sleep nights. Then driving over here, it come to me like a ray of light. She's in there.
In the Dutch oven?
Just like the letter said.
Funny place to put your mother.
Oh, that old Dutch oven is cool and dry. Wouldn't have harmed the old lady herself if she'd been put in there alive.
You'll be out soon.
Nancy goes back outside and plays croquet with Mr. Bryan and Julia.
I think I'll try for Julia.
Your turn, Miss Julia.
Oh, dear. Nancy's so athletic. What am I doing wrong?
May I? Put that in there. That one there. Now you have a good chance to knock me away from the wicket.
Oh, I couldn't do that. It's part of the game. Hit him.
No. Like this. That's right.
Oh, I really can't hit you, Mr. Bryan. Oh, for the love of Pete, it's part of the game. Is it?
Nice shot, Miss Julia. It was a little out of bounds.
That night, Mr. Popham sings a song called On the Front Porch.
All I wanna do when the day is through is linger here on the front porch with you. From the wicker swing while the night birds sing, we'll watch the fireflies sparking do some sparking too.
Later in their room, Nancy and Julia get into an argument, and Nancy tells Julia that the Fergusons don't care about her.
George Ferguson only raised you because he felt guilty when he lost all your father's money. And if he hadn't lost my father's money, my mother might have a French maid, and I could have imported dresses, and Gilly go to college.
I don't believe you.
Oh, Julia. I'm sorry.
Julia runs to Margaret and asks her if what Nancy said is true.
Oh, Mother, I've done a terrible thing. See, I was mad at her and it just slipped out of my mouth. Tell her what you said. Oh, Mother, you know what I said.
Nancy, how could you?
Julia, really,
No matter what Nancy says, the Fergusons love me.
Of course they do. And we love you too, Julia.
Margaret then tells Julia that the Fergusons have been ready to take her back, but she decides to stay with them.
Oh, Aunt Margaret. I don't want to go back. I'm happy here.
Please let me stay.
Please, Mother.
Oh, of course.
Oh, Nancy. Julia.
It's all been my fault. I'll do my share, and I'll never mention the Fergusons again. Oh, and my dresses. They weren't imported. I made them myself.
You did? Hey, Julia, look, if I do all the dishes and stuff, will you help me with my dress for the housewarming? Because when it comes to sewing, I'm all thumbs.
I have the most wonderful book of patterns. Gladys it's from Paris, the latest styles.
Really? A Paris gown? Oh, Julia, that was wonderful.
Good night, sisters.
Later at Halloween time, Digby tells Gilly about his visit to the city.
Well, it's like Pa always says. The city's all right for city folks. Second night I was there. I wish I was back in Beulah.
Why?
I was walking along the streets, and all these people were rushing by me, and they looked like ants. And I could no more talk to one of them than I could talk to an ant.
Well, it's great you're home. I guess you'll be wanting your job back, driving the truck.
I got a good offer to work down at the sawmill. So the job's still yours.
Gee, thanks.
Meanwhile, in Nancy and Julia's room, Lally Joy shows them her dress that her mother made her for the party, which she's not happy with. So they redesign it for her, and comes the next song, Femininity.
You must walk feminine, talk feminine, smile and beguile feminine, utilize your femininity. That's what every girl should know if she wants to catch a beau. I just want Gilly. Dance feminine, glance feminine, act shy and sigh feminine, compliment his masculinity. That's what every girl should know if she wants to catch a beau. You're babbling too much.
Let him do the talking. Men adore good listeners.
Laugh, but not loudly, ha-ha, if he should choose to tell a joke. Be radiant,
But delicate.
memorize the rules of etiquette. Be demure, sweet and pure. Hide the real you. You must look feminine, dress feminine. You're at your best feminine. Emphasize your femininity.
During the song, Mr. Hamilton, played by Peter Brown, arrives, runs into Nancy, and she tells him about the party tonight.
Sort of paying a tribute to Mr. Hamilton's dear old mother.
Oh,
Well, we thought it was the least we could do. After all, he owns the place.
oh, he does.
Not that he ever cared much about it. You should have seen the mess it was in before we took over.
Took over?
From Mr. Hamilton. He gave us carte blanche, so this is a housewarming. A huge affair. Actually, everyone's coming.
Nancy!
Right there, Mother.
Well, I mustn't keep you.
I don't suppose you're stopping over in Beulah?
Well, I hadn't,
No, I guess not. It's just a little town.
Nancy!
I think someone's calling you. Careful of the wheel.
Mr. Hamilton then drives over to Mr. Popham and talks to him about the house.
There's, some people out there.
Yes, lovely folks by the name of Carey's been living there.
Oh, I see. How long they been living there, Russ?
Well, not long as you figure time. Wonderful folks, the Careys. You're going to like them. They put in a new chain pump for that old wooden one.
Who gave them permission to live there?
You did.
I did? Now, I've never even heard of them. Nobody asked me. Why didn't you write?
So Mr. Popham tells Mr. Hamilton that he wrote him some letters, but he didn't mail them out.
Popham, what's going on?
Now, just wait. Just hear me out. You see, I didn't know how you'd take the situation, and here was these nice folks that needed a house, and they fell plumb in love with yours, and I let them have it. I wrote you all about it. Put them up here, where Mariah wasn't likely to look. Here they are, a lot of them. The ones I wrote and the ones that Nancy Carey wrote you, hers are on top. I wrote you because Mariah was nagging me to get your permission. Nancy wrote hers from a grateful young heart. I hope that you read hers before you make up your mind what you got to do.
At the house, Lally Joy goes downstairs and shows herself to Gilly.
Good evening, Gilly.
Mr. Bryant then arrives, and Julia goes downstairs to see him.
I didn't think you'd even be ready.
I'll never keep you waiting, Charles.
Margaret then goes upstairs to Nancy and Julia's room, and Nancy's upset because she doesn't have anybody to dance with.
There are plenty of young people you can join there.
Join? It isn't the same thing, Mother. I wouldn't have minded a year ago, even a month. But I don't know. Somehow, I just have a different feeling, that's all.
Well, if you don't want to go in alone, I'll send Gilly over.
Mother! Gilly's a relative. I couldn't go into the ballroom with a relative. No, I must go alone. I must do it alone.
Well, if you're sure.
Florence Nightingale, the Crimea, Joan of Arc, Maid of Orleans, Mrs. Pankhurst, votes for women.
Don't take too long deciding which one you want to be.
Nancy then goes downstairs and sees Mr. Hamilton.
Oh, allow me, please.
I brought along a friend of mine, Nancy. I don't think you know Tom.
Oh, we've met. I decided I couldn't afford to miss this party. Should be a very, interesting evening.
Well, to think that you know Osh Popham, the most remarkable human being. Fairy godfather, really. I suppose he told you that if it hadn't been for him, we wouldn't be in this lovely house.
Well, I don't think Mr. Popham told me the whole story.
Oh, I know. He's so modest, self-effacing. So I'll start at the beginning.
Mr. Popham then goes out to the barn, and then Nancy and Mr. Hamilton come in.
Nice to have you with us. Digby? Aljoy?
Well?
Oh, there's dear Osh.
Who's that she's with?
I never saw him before.
City fella.
You saw him before, Charles. Osh, you two stay together. It's time for Mother to start the ceremonies.
Yes, the ceremonies.
Won't amount to much. It'd be kind of dull. Like go out for a smoke?
No. I'm sure that I'll enjoy them.
The ceremony then starts and the picture is unveiled.
She was a good woman.
So Mr. Hamilton's pissed at Mr. Popham and says that he'll deal with him later. He then walks over to Nancy and tells her his name.
Hamilton. Tom Hamilton.
Hamilton. That's a familiar sounding name. Tom Hamilton.
Tom Hamilton.
Any relation to... Close?
Very close.
Not our Mr. Hamilton. Not the Yellow Peril Hamilton.
Well, I think you look more like a yellow peril.
What you gonna do to me?
Right now, dance with you.
They then dance.
Well, Mariah, looks like that black cloud has a silver lining. Didn't I tell you that everything always turns out all right in the end?
And that was Summer Magic. What are my thoughts on it? It's pretty good. In the end, I give this film a rating of 3.5 stars out of 5. Well, that's it for Summer Magic. Be sure to tune in next week when I'll be reviewing one of Disney's only 2 fully motion captured films, which isn't the Christmas one. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell your friends about me, leave some questions in the comments below, subscribe, and hit that like button.
Mariah, your pot's boiling over.
Oh,